Thank you for being here. Whoa, that's a lot of echo. I'm going to show you today something that I started working 10 years ago. I've published 2 papers on the subject, and one is how to do this, how to generate passwords, and one is how you could profile someone to find his password. This talk is only about regenerating passwords, about generating and regenerating passwords. So, a couple of things about me. This is me working for a company. It's called Sysnet. I had to put that up there. You know how it works. So, a lot of people, especially in universities, they don't understand the value of Twitter. Twitter is a very good thing. It's a very good tool to get real-time information. So, if you are following all these professionals on Twitter, you're going to be getting a lot of information in real time. So, do use Twitter, and if you want to follow celebrities, that's fine. But you know, it's really good for knowing what is happening in the world. So, the agenda. I'm going to speak about authentication. I'm going to speak about the use of passwords. I'm going to show you some password parameters that you should know. I am going to tell you about the purpose of a password, and believe me, you will understand at the end that not many people actually have been taught how to use a password. I am going to try to change your thought process, and that is the main what I want you to take with you from this talk. I'm going to help you understand how to choose the password. And I am going to show you how to regenerate password instead of remembering it. So, I'm going to use the Socratic method. For those of you who don't know what that is I'm going to give you a lot of questions, right? And you will, because you already know the answer, but you haven't put it in the right order, you will start answering those questions for yourself. And because you are individuals, each question for yourself is going to be different from the person next to you. So bear with me. So for those coming in now, no, you're not in the wrong lecture theater. This is about passwords still. How is this related to passwords? Everything will make sense at the end. And if you came in here so you can find your girlfriend's Facebook account, you know, guess her password? No, I'm not going to do that. Or may I do that? You never know. So, these are the questions, right? How many different accounts do you have? So, these questions have a different answer for every one of you, right? How many of these use a unique password? So, are you reusing passwords? Do you write them down? Some people write them down, you know, on a piece of paper and they keep it safely stored somewhere. Some people use password managers. Some people write them on a text file and store it somewhere with a zip password, whatever. Do you remember them all? And why you don't remember them all? Is it because they are too complicated? Or do you remember them all because they are too easy to guess? How do you know you are using the right password for the right purpose? I mean, complex enough passwords are fine, but do you really want a complex password for an online account that you log in to check, I don't know, something that has to do with vacuum cleaner spare parts, right? You don't need a secure password for that account. You don't really care if that account gets hacked. Are you with me on that, right? What makes your password difficult enough to guess for the specific account you are using it? Is it complex? Is it because it's not part of a dictionary attack? What makes your password unique to yourself? Of course, can your password be found in any dictionaries, at any language? It doesn't really matter. Does character substitution increase password complexity? Yes, up to a point. Because if the word password is used as a password and you change the O with a 0, right? Yes, you have character substitution. However, the word password with a zero is still part of a dictionary. So it doesn't really make sense. It's not more complex. The strength indicator will tell you it's more complex. It will give you a better rating, sorry. But at the end of the day, it will take the same amount of time to break it because it's part of the basic dictionary attacks. Are you using a secure password management application? So there are password management applications out there. How do you know how to trust them? How do you know these things don't share your password somewhere else? How do you trust an online service that tells you to store your passwords? You don't. This is why you don't know when you create a password if that password is being stored securely, if that password is being encrypted securely. I do know of a company, of a betting company, that when you apply for to get an account with them, they ask for your passport to be sent, a scan of your passport, and they ask for your credit card to be scanned and sent, front and back. This is to make sure that they know who they're talking to. And I'm telling you that these two files are stored on a server, unencrypted, right? And whenever the auditor goes in, they just unplug the device from the network. The auditor never finds the server. The server has never been checked if it's encrypted. That's it. So you don't know if your password is stored securely on a server. Your details are stored securely. So you need to to do something about it. You need to be responsible for that. You need to start thinking from the attacker's point of view to protect your intellectual property in a sense. Passwords do not need to always be complex. And does your password hasn't already known hash? I mean, you might have a really complex password, but have you actually checked its hash if it's online? That's a very interesting question. Also, if someone hacks your account, or if someone hacks a number of accounts and manages to crack some passwords, if someone gets more than one passwords from yourself, will he be able to identify a logic behind the way that you choose passwords? Will he be able to identify a pattern? For example, an Amazon account which is called, the password is Amazon1234, and then you have LinkedIn and the password is LinkedIn1234, there is a pattern there. See what I mean? Right? It's a stupid pattern, but some people do that. I'm not talking about you. So, the truth about passwords is that people are not terrible at passwords. The truth is that no one really actually told them how to properly use them. The same way that someone taught you at some point to ride the bicycle, and after that point it was easy to do, right? You haven't been taught how to generate a password. You haven't been taught to generate a password. This is very important. You have been asked to create complex passwords all the time, but you haven't been taught how to do it. So this is what we're going to do today. It's a myth that complexity depends on how good your memory is. And we're going to prove why this is a myth. And a lot of security professionals out there, they say that we must force people into creating more complex passwords. Again, it's not really true. We don't have complex passwords. You don't need them for everything. I have 118 accounts. None of them have the same password. All of them have complicated passwords. I remember them. I don't need to go back to a password manager. The only reason why I can do that is because when I generate the password, I have a thought pattern, which is uniquely tied to myself because I'm a unique individual. So I'll show you what I'm doing. It is a bit complicated at the beginning, but you'll see you will be able to do it. So, social media. You have passwords for LinkedIn. You have passwords, for Facebook. You have passwords for Twitter. You have passwords for so many different pages, right? If you think about it, if you are in this industry, basically you will end up having, at least 50 passwords. So do you want a password leak to be able to identify your logic if someone cracks that password. When the Adobe, how many people had an Adobe account? Right, see? It's the brain. So how many people had an Adobe account? Right? How many people actually use that account for something very significant? Exactly, no one. Right? So I had it because they introduced this thing, which is similar to Dropbox. Send it now, whatever that was, a send it feature. You were able to send files across. So I created an account in order to see what was about, what was that thing. I was curious. Out of curiosity, I created an account. And most accounts, this is why they were there. This account had to have a simple password, from my perspective, because it was protecting nothing that I wanted to be protected. I wanted to protect. And I was using this logic. If this account is hacked, do I care? If someone finds out this password, do I care? So I'm going to show you that every time a new account needs to be created, how you need to think about stuff. So you're watching, you have this image in front of you. If I ask you which is the first word that pops into your head, it's going to be a different word for everybody. It's almost going to be a different word for everybody. So, would you like to share words that come in your head when you see this page on your screen? Yeah. What? Login. Okay. Other words. Do share the words. Try it. What is the first word that pops into your head?
Lock.
Lock. Okay.
One password.
One password.
Password manager.
Anything else? Paper. See, this is what I'm looking for. Those are the untrained, obvious answers. This is one step further. He tied this image with this graphic to something that means paper. So, now that you know, could you come up with a word that is tied to this picture, this screen, that is unique to yourself? Something that reminds you something from your childhood. Something, I don't really care, I don't have the answer. You have the answer for yourself. Do you see what I'm going with this? Right? Give me a word. Yeah, with the red.
Box.
What?
Box.
Box. Right? What happens is, when you start using this method, what you're trying to achieve is that you don't need actually to remember that word. You don't need to remember the word box. You don't need to remember the word paper. You are going to end up bringing your mind in a state that when you need the password to log back into that account, you ask yourself, what word would I use? Sorry. If I was creating the account now for the first time. It sounds weird, but trust me, I've tested it. I've tested this on students and it works. You just need to change the way that you think while you're generating the password for yourself. So, most people who do use passwords are able to remember only a couple of complex ones and strong passwords. Yes, and those people are reusing those passwords. This is what studies indicate. People do write them down, and they don't protect them as an asset. There are people who do remember the password, but they're all insecure, or easy to guess, or they follow under a pattern. And they're really not very good, really bad in remembering passwords. And I don't know if you know that, but the US don't have that chip and pin. You know that, right? They have, they use their cards and they just sign for it. The only reason this is changing now and they don't have pins. It's because all studies in the US indicate that they cannot remember those 4 digits. Seriously, look it up. Studies, years after years, they cannot remember the 4 digits. They keep forgetting them, and they get banks get so much hassle about it that they gave up and said, we're never going to introduce PIN. We're going to switch to contactless. So if you fly to the US and you want to use your card, and if your card has a PIN, you don't need to use the PIN. You just swipe the card, and it works. If you don't know what a dictionary attack is, or if you are not familiar with dictionaries, and this is for your personal password threat assessment, go online, find this link, and see if your password is in any of these lists. Do character substitution and see if your password is in there. If it's in there, it takes minutes for someone to crack it. So, what are the password's parameters? According to the asset being protected. So, you are going to use a different password, a different level of security, whatever that means to yourself, for protecting your bank account, your online banking account, and a different password for Facebook. Because those 2 accounts, yes, they do demand a complex password. However, what happens if you lose your Facebook? You don't get logged in back to Facebook, so what? Except if you are one of those people who are using single sign-on. And if you lose your Facebook account, you lose a lot of access to a lot of other accounts. So should you be using single sign-on? The technology there is available. Why? But have you done threat assessment? Have you done risk management to yourself and answer the question, do I really need single sign-on? Am I being affected? If someone steals my account, what happens? What happens if I'm locked out? What happens if someone reports me for being, I don't know, an elephant, and Facebook blocks my account, and I'm on a trip, and my Facebook account unlocks Airbnb, and I cannot have access to my Airbnb account. So all these things are tied together. So you need to decide. You need to know about these factors. You need to decide. All these things can happen in a second, but I need to take you through the process. How secure do you want it to be? So what is it for? Do I care if someone compromises the account? Do I care if someone compromises my Adobe account? No, I don't really care. There is no financial data. There is nothing. There is nothing personal there. There is nothing to pinpoint me. That's it. How complex I want it to be, and I'll show you how to do that. Does the asset being protected calls for an additional level of difficulty? And I will show you what I mean about level of difficulty. How do I know how it is going to be stored? Again, if I'm creating an account at vacuum cleaner spare parts that someone runs from his basement, that business runs from someone's basement, you don't know if this password is being stored securely. So you need to understand that you need to take steps to give them a fake password. A password that doesn't indicate neither your thought pattern of creating password, neither how strong your passwords are, and is not linked to anything else. So try, I'm going to do it in a second, but try to bridge your positive side of your brain with your creative side of the brain and put them together. See that as a challenge in order to go through that algorithm. When you are asked to create a password for an account, for your Windows box, for your Mac box, or for your Linux box, right? Identify the asset being protected. What is it for? And it's going to be either those 3 categories. It's going to be insignificant, you don't really care what it is. It's going to contain personal information, or it contains bank details. If the account is compromised, will it reveal information? Will it reveal your identity? If no, then the level of difficulty should be 1. If it's yes, then you go to the next box where you ask yourself, the revealed information, once it's compromised, can assist someone to profile you now. Not reveal your identity, profile you, understand a pattern about yourself. Or geolocate you, pinpoint you, find your home address. If it's a yes, you move on to the next category. Otherwise, your level of difficulty is number 2. If the account contains personal information, because you've ordered, I don't know, you signed up to a service and you had to prove who you are because they will send you, I don't know, a magazine. And it's free, you don't use bank details, it's only your personal information there. Then you go to the next box and say, is the data being stored in a trustworthy, known to be secure location, or in a secure manner? Do you know that? So I assume that Facebook stores my password in a secure manner. I can assume that, right? I don't know if the guy running a business with about, I don't know, dog collars, if he's storing the data securely. So you go through this, and you end up with a number. If the account at some point contains bank information, and you can delete the bank information from the account, then you jump back to the second column. Otherwise, you jump to the last column. Each level of difficulty is different and for each and every one of you. Because once you understand how to do this in a split second, you have an indication on how strong the password, on how complex the password should be based on what it's trying to protect. Does that make sense? Yes? And each level of difficulty means something different to you. So you are going to decide what each number from the previous graph means to yourself. So this is a website, and they sell bicycles. What we did earlier on, let's do it again. Think of a word that pops into your head. Something that, I don't know, the first day that you ride the bicycle, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. There is no right or wrong answer. But it's something that when this pops up, there's a word pops into your head. That is due to your personality, due to your character, due to what you like, due to the fact that you are an individual, it's going to be different. So, give me a few words. Share a few words with the rest of the people in here. Please do.
Landscape.
Landscape. Yeah, why not?
Lamppost.
Really good, really good. Sorry?
Lamppost.
Lamppost, yeah. And you know why? I don't even need to know, but I cannot get into your head to know about that lamppost. And the proof of concept of this talk is that in 2 weeks' time, in a month's time, you will remember these words you just said. And that will prove to yourself that he was talking about something that he was right.
What happens if they are changing the site?
Come again, sorry.
What happens if they are changing the site? They change the picture, they change the layout, they change everything.
Yeah, of course, they can do that. This is why the word, it might be tied to, it shouldn't be tied exactly on the picture that's on the website. It needs to be on the concept of what website, account, the purpose of this account, right? The concept of the account. So give me a few words.
I need a car.
Excellent, excellent. Right? It's like the secret answers on emails, right? The question is, what is your favorite color? And you choose a color, red. So someone has like a few guesses on space gray, right? The word is difficult, you cannot guess it. However, the answer is related to the question. So what is your favorite color? My answer would be, the skies are not blue. Right? It is something that if you ask me 5 years in a row, I will answer the same, I will give you the same answer. But you cannot tie those things together because this answer is tied to my personality. It's a way of I'm thinking things, right? So these are the words that some people actually came up with. Bicycle, freedom, transformer, trifecta, that was the name of the website, BMX, chick bike, and a number. The number represents another thought pattern. The guy goes to websites, goes to contact, finds their phone number, and uses it as a password. So every website has a different password. See? Easy. Now, easy and stupid at the same time. However, if that's what you decide to do, there is no way I can guess that. Plus, if you have a method to go through the levels of difficulty and decide which patterns you want to apply according to the asset it protects, you've created a very difficult password that you don't actually need to remember. You're going to regenerate the next time you're going to visit the site in 2 years' time. Yes? Same thing. Kitchens, right? Come up with a few words, please.
Box.
Dollars. Dominoes. Good. Yeah. Come on, serve a few words. It doesn't matter. As you see, we're playing a game.
I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to cook.
Yeah. Really good, because these are the words. I'm the cook. Why is the word under siege there? Because Steven Seagal was saying all the time, I'm the cook in that movie. Right? So this guy came up with the word under siege. Do you see what I mean? It's a thought pattern that you could never guess, but this word would pop up in your head. What are you using for the kitchens account website? I know, under siege. It's simple. Cuisine, well, French background, you know. Food scenes. Is that even a word? And the last one is actually my word. You do know I'm from Greece, right? And there's a sea that is called the Aegean. And how did I come up with that word? I like islands, kitchen islands. And Aegean Sea has a lot of islands. So my word that popped up in my head was Aegean. I'll never forget it. I'm not going to create an account on this website for sure, right? What I've told you. But you see what I'm getting at? And then you apply the level of difficulty. Are you going to order from this website? Then it needs to be a little bit more complicated. Are you going to store bank details? It needs to get more complicated. How long you want the password to be? Because each level of difficulty can have your own password length, a minimum one. So you can pad characters at the end, at the front, in the beginning, every 2 characters, something like that. You decide that. It's your personal way of thinking about passwords. Do you know what these are? Right? Those are grommets. The things that you put cables through desks, right? So, again, let's do it again. Come on.
Wallace.
What? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Come on, give me words. Back there. The one snoring at the back. Come on, give me some words.
Shopping.
Shopping.
Fulfiller.
Yeah? College. Yeah. I can see where you're getting.
Effort.
What?
Effort.
Effort. What is that?
Effort.
Ah, effort. Right, okay. Yeah, sure. You need to use your creative mind at the same time you're using your logical side, right? Hide my cables. Why not? Why not? Makes sense. Hole on the desk. Another pattern, or another way to do it, that's like the postcode of the website, where the company is based, right? You could use a combination of the postcode and the phone number. It's your decision. No one can guess. And you can use it in a way that you can concatenate, parrot, whatever. You don't have to remember the difficult password. It can be 30 characters long, as far as you're concerned. You don't have to remember it. You need to have a process to regenerate it, right? Silence. Why? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen Battlestar Galactica? Yes? Because that grommet up there looks like a silence ship, isn't it? See? Something that pops into your head. It's really great. When you do that to people, it's really great. They come up with, I don't know, maybe you don't want to say your words now, but because you think this has been recorded, so they're going to know my thought pattern, but it's really crazy what kind of words people come up with. It's really difficult to find people to come up with the same word, actually. Again, ways of applying your level of difficulty rules to these words. Extra characters, lowercase, uppercase, symbols, and things like that. So basically, in order to generate a password, you need to decide the complexity of its level of difficulty that is relevant to yourself. You need to match your individual password creation needs, basically. You need to decide which are and how many the additional symbols are going to be. You need to decide if you're going to do letter substitution. So if it's a password that you don't care, maybe it's level 1, so you're going to substitute 1 letter. If it's level 2, maybe you want to substitute 2 letters. Maybe there's a pattern. When it's 2, only the first and the last, or the 2 in the middle. I know it sounds complicated, but once you put your thoughts in an order, these things start popping up in your head. It's a different way of assessing this problem, of seeing the problem with the passwords, right? They stole the fingerprints of the US government, right? If someone steals your password, you will change it. If someone steals your fingerprint, what are you going to do? Are you going to chop off your finger? Or are you going to burn it on the stove? So, upper lowercase letters, of course. I'm stating the obvious, I'm trying to put everything together. Decide the minimum password length according to the level of difficulty. Additional patterns using alphanumeric and or symbols. Like what we saw before, adding like a tag at the end. Less than, / greater than. So you need to generate a password based on your personality, your character, your experiences, your likes, and thought process. And decide a pattern for choosing words or phrases to be used as passwords. What I mean is, you can have a whole phrase for something. The sky is blue. And use the 2 first letters from each word. That would give you a nice and complex password. If that is if that's something that pops up in your head when you see that specific account. You need to have a dummy and a unique word. The dummy word is for websites that you really, really don't care. And you don't really care if you are going to reuse it. And this is the word that, because if you choose it now, you're never going to end up saying, oh, what did I use on this website? It's a stupid website, so I used my stupid word, right? And then you need to find a word that is unique to yourself. And that word, you're going to decide that it has a higher level of, it needs to have the higher level of difficulty. And this word is going to be protecting your bank account, right? Your online bank account, and things like that. You need to use the graph in order to identify what type of asset the password you are generating will be protecting. Apply the level of difficulty to the chosen word, converting into the ideal password for protecting that specific asset, and make sure secret questions are not answered with obvious responses. Like, what is your favorite team? And the guy answers Manchester. It's easy to guess. Also, high-value assets We're talking about your bank account. We're talking about your email, your main email account, where everything is stored in there. Need to have two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, right? However, at the same time, not many people take steps in order to minimize the risk of what's going to happen when they lose their two-factor authentication device. So if you have an authentication application on your mobile phone and you lose your phone, basically, you are not doing it right. However, devices are really cheap today. You might have like an old tablet, or you might have something else where you can store this application. Keep it in your house. Don't use it for your everyday needs. If I lose my phone, my two-factor authentication application is on my other phone. It's not on my phone that I'm using. Because I'm only logging in from that phone to these accounts. And they're not going to be open if someone else tries to log in from somewhere else. Have a personal incident response plan. If your laptop is stolen, have you ever sat down to consider before it happens what the implication will be? Right? If you have a password manager, and the password manager is stored on your laptop, and your laptop is unencrypted, what's the point? So if you're going to do it, store it somewhere else securely, if you're going to use a password manager. Are you going to trust the password manager? Does the password manager have a vulnerability? We've seen a lot of vulnerabilities with password managers lately, right? So do have a personal incident response plan when this happens. If you do it now, and someone steals your phone, you're going to be like, so what? My response plan is saying, I'm logging into my other phone, or I'm getting my other phone, or I'm calling my sister. You go to my other phone, press this key, erase my phone, done. I don't really care, I've lost nothing. Sometimes you need to use shareable passwords, right? What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes there's this girlfriend that wants to have access to your Facebook account, and you need to, yeah, you never do that, right? Yes, you need to protect your Facebook. However, you've just added a risk factor to your password, right? You may trust them with your life. You don't know if they're going to misuse it or if they're going to leak it, not intentionally, I'm talking about unintentionally, somehow. Because they decided to do something, they're in Starbucks, they connected to the Wi-Fi, they didn't notice they're being attacked with a manual attack, someone gets your password. So this password has a different level of difficulty and it has a different purpose now. It's a shareable one. Does that make sense? Yes? Yes. So, the process of regenerating the password. You're actually the only person that really knows yourself. So, going back to this whole process, you don't have to remember it. You need to regenerate it. You need to think like, you need to bring your mind in the state you were when you started generating the password in the first place for that particular asset that you're trying to protect. You need to ask yourself, what would be the password if I would choose it right now? If I was creating this account now for the first time, what would the password be? What would be the word? What the word would be? And this process actually gets you the password back. Do not try to remember. You're going to regenerate it. I know that it sounds difficult. However, I had a few students back in the day who they forgot their email accounts, email passwords, right? We went through the process asking them questions. What would be the password now? All that stuff. And they actually regenerated in their heads. And also you have hints, because you know your own hints. You know, depending on what you're trying to protect, how long it's going to be, how complex it's going to be, and all that stuff. So you will generate it at the end of the day. So, this whole method basically provides you with a user's guide to your own thought process. 50 students participated in an experiment, and 47 of them managed to regenerate the password they chose during the test after 6 months. The same thing we did earlier on today. They remember those words because they had a logic behind it. Successfully applied method to people who came back saying they have forgotten the password, they chose something in the past. An old email address, as I said. The process is not complicated, it is a different way of sorting out your thoughts when it comes to password creation and recall. It's really interesting what you can do with this. So, you can use this method to evaluate if the password you are already using are secure enough or not, according to the assets they are protecting. Go through your password list and say, is this password good enough for this account? You can do that. You will see that you won't have to write them down anymore. You will have a way to regenerate them. You won't have to remember them. You will start using better passwords, trust me. If a service you are using is hacked and the passwords are cracked, you won't be reusing the same password. This is an outcome from this thing. Thus, you are not endangering other accounts being compromised. You have a method to identify your high-value assets and create the appropriate passwords for them. And I'm sorry, Facebook is not a high-value asset, and that's bearable, according to how you're using it. If you have bank details there because you're doing advertisement, yes, might be a high-value asset for you as well. If you are a marketing person and you are doing stuff with Facebook, yes, maybe. But start rethinking the way that you identify your high-value assets. So, conclusions. It might sound a bit complicated, but most people manage to put this thought process in good use within the first week. And you will be surprised how easy password management becomes after this, and that password simply pops up into your head. And also, we should actually stop the recording now.
Turn it off.
No, don't worry. There's something called possible liability. So, bear with me. If your password is complicated, and I don't know, I'm gonna go American now, and Homeland Security FBI walks into your room and says, give me your password for this account. If you tell them that you're not gonna disclose the password, you're going to be prosecuted for not disclosing the password. If you're going to say that you forgot the password, you're going to be prosecuted because you're a liar. And you're going to be prosecuted because if you go through the lie detector thing, right? And they ask you, have you actually forgotten the password? Right? And you say yes, they'll see it's a lie. However, if you are using this method, you are not lying when you said, I don't know the password. They haven't asked you, can you regenerate it? So you're going to pass the polygraph, basically. Oh, you take that very seriously, sir. Who's that man? Yeah, this is really interesting. You're going to pass the polygraph. Because they didn't ask you if you can regenerate the password. They asked you, do you remember it? No. I can regenerate it, but you never asked me. Right? And that was about it, and thank you for your attention, and open to questions, please.